So you know the drill. I'm gonna show you 3 Bowser Jr. builds, starting from my least favorite, working my way up to my absolute favorite. So, as you may know, Bowser Jr. is actually a character which is basically the opposite of Birdo. He doesn't have any shooting or technique whatsoever, and he mainly focuses on strength, speed, and passing. So that's why most of the builds that we are going to show don't really focus on shooting and technique, but they mainly focus on speed, strength, and passing to make him the best mix between a support character and a defensive character. So the first build that we're going to show today is actually more focused on support rather than defense. And it actually has a little bit more technique, mainly because technique makes you a little faster while you grab the ball. So I think that support characters should have at least a bit of technique, because if your job is to grab the ball and get to the other side of the map, it's going to be a little harder for you to do that if you don't have technique and you get very slow while grabbing the ball. This build uses a shellfish helmet, the chain gauntlets, the trick pad, and the shellfish boots. I think showing off how good a support character is a little harder than showing off how good a striker is, right? Because support characters don't really take the most attention in the game, right? Because they are not really the ones that, score goals. So I had a hard time getting the footage, but I'm trying to do my best here. Although something that I would recognize is that with this build, I actually had a little bit of an easier time scoring goals, like right in front of the net, because with the next builds that I'm going to show you, I couldn't even score goals but while charging them in front of the net, because I don't know, he didn't have any technique or any shooting. But with this one, since you had a little bit of technique, maybe it's a little easier because of that. But you'll see what I mean in a second. If you want more speed with this build, you can change to the Bushido sandals on the feet. Or you could also use the shellfish gear on the chest to get a similar result. Plus, if you want to have 15 and 15 on passing and technique, you could also change to the shellfish bracelets, and that'll give you that, which looks. The next 2 builds are pretty similar on their role and on their stats, but they use totally different gears. So the first build that I'm going to show you uses a lot of Bushido gear, so it's a little expensive. So for this build, you will use the Bushido helmet, the chain gauntlets, the Bushido armor, and the Bushido sandals. This will give you 15 and 15 on strength and speed, which looks cool, looks nice. And you will have a lot of passing, which might be a little underrated in my opinion. So usually when you want a passing character, you can be very good by just staying like on the 13 passing range. 11, 13, and 15 passing is already amazing. And you don't really need to get like over 17, I would say. But actually having 21 passing might be a little bit underrated. since you can actually pull off some very, very long shot passes. Also, another good thing about this build is that you can tackle. You're for sure not going to be like the defensive player of the year, but it's pretty good still, you can be defensive and win face off at least, So you remember what I told you about these next two builds having difficulty scoring up close, even if they charge the goal? Now for the variations, I want to keep using the Bushido gear, but you could be a little bit more speedy but lose strength if you use the speed gauntlets. And you could also get to 17 strength by using the knight gear on the hands. And if you don't care about, you want more speed but less strength, you can use the shellfish gear too. Now I'm going to show you my absolute favorite gear for Bowser Jr. And it's actually the one that I use the most because it's the one that is the most fun. This one concentrates way more on being a defensive character, but you still have very good passing. So it's kind of like a Muscle Toad or a Muscle Diddy Kong, but you have more speed. This build uses speed helmet, shellfish gear on the hands, Bushido on the chest and on the feet. And even though you lose a lot of passing, with the 13 passing, you can still be a great support for your strikers. And since you have 20 speed, you're actually way more speedy than than most of the characters. So you can also chase balls if they are loose. And the good thing is that you still have 17 strength, so you can be a defensive monster. And if you want a little bit of variation with this build and you have the knight gauntlets, then you can use them instead of the shellfish gear. But I would recommend still the shellfish gear because with the knight gauntlets you are wasting 1 point into strength, you are missing 1 point into speed for getting to 20 speed, and you have very minimal technique, so you are very slow with the ball. So yeah, I think the shellfish gear does a better job in this one. Thanks for watching and bye.